Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Coach Jeff. Today I have an email from a guy who met a girl at one of America's finest self described family friendly restaurants, Hooters, and I'm wearing my favorite orange hoodie today in honor of their colors. But the scenario is a really good example of a lot of the common mistakes that guys make when they're in the early dating process of in someone they're really into. So I'm going to go through that email and kind of break down what he did right, what he did wrong, and just all the different areas where guys can learn from and improve in their same scenarios. But before I get into the email, I would love if you hit subscribe for more dating and relationship advice on real life scenarios just like this to improve your dating game. And you can also send me an email to questions@elevatemyrelationships.com and I may make a coaching video out of your scenario. And of course, the fastest way to get my help would be checking out the coaching options in the video description below. So I'm just going to get into the email here. And he wrote, "Hey, I saw your YouTube channel and I thought it was great. I even subscribed. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I hope others follow suit." He says, "Anyways, I have a scenario. I met a waitress at Hooters a week before Christmas." Attaboy. He says, "I ended up getting her number by the end of my lunch and we even made plans to see each other that same day. This indicated high interest to me. I met her at a restaurant with her friend and we had drinks and a great time." Yeah, so the fact that she made the date on the same day with you definitely indicates that she had a higher level of interest. And as a rule, though, I would avoid having a group date or anything that has like a third wheel. Like, you really want to avoid that in the early stages of dating because you really don't know the outcome. There's a lot of factors involved when you start to add more people into the equation, and you really want it to be just you two. So I don't know if you knew that she was bringing a friend beforehand when you asked, or she just kind of showed up with her friend and you had to deal with that. But as a rule, guys, definitely don't do group dates or third wheel or any of that type of stuff when you initially start dating someone. It just adds another person to the equation, which can impact the attraction that you're trying to grow with her. So he goes on to say, "That night I went to her place and met her mother and father. Her and I had a very romantic night and we wanted to see each other the very next morning." I mean, it seems a lot is happening really fast here, which is probably what also starts to contribute to it going down really fast. But I'm not sure if you're younger and you both live with your parents, which is fine, but it just seems like everything is kind of going really fast. You meeting her parents really early, which at the time when you meet her and you're kind of going through this whirlwind, it can feel really great that it's going fast, right? You're thinking, oh, this is great. She's hot. She's kind of into me. I'm meeting her parents like this first night or whatever it was. And it feels good, but the reality is it does have its consequences down the line when something goes that fast. So he goes on to say, "Anyways, her family invited me to spend Christmas Eve with them, and I went. I spent the night with her family, and it was a great time. However, drinks were flowing and her parents wanted to go to the casino. I wanted to go home, but decided to stay with her and her parents since I thought that's what I needed to do to impress." So right here is one of the most common mistakes that guys make, like all the time. And I'm sure a lot of guys watching this video have either done it or are currently doing it, but this is the biggest mistake, which is he seems to identify right now, the way he writes this, that he can see his actions versus what his result was. But the common thought process is, okay, well, I kind of have to keep obliging to her, and this is going to impress her, even though if it's something I really don't want to do. Like in this case, they wanted to go to the casino, and he didn't want to go. And he said it himself. He was tired. He spent a good amount of time with her and her family, and they had a great time. But the problem was he stayed to go to the casino only on the basis that he didn't want to disappoint her. And in other words, he wanted to impress her, not because he wanted to go. So this is a very, very common mistake. Most guys do something like this, and I am guilty of it over and over and over again in my early dating life. It's basically being overly accommodating as to not upset her, right? And even if you're doing it a lot of innocent times, when you keep doing it again and again, it starts to add up down the line and her attraction for you starts to drop. And what happens is you basically look like you can just be walked over and you're essentially a doormat or like a little servant, right? Although it doesn't feel that way and that's not what your intention is, that's kind of the signal that you're giving by doing things like this, because you didn't want to go to the casino. So you didn't have to go to the casino. Like in this situation, if you were tired and it's a long day and evening and you said you had a great time with them, like her family and her at their house, you will display strength. If you basically say to her, "Hey, I'm pretty tired. I had a great time, but I think I'm going to head home to sleep." And then you give her a nice goodnight kiss and tell her you had a good night and then leave and go home. Like, you're doing what you want to do. And maybe she's a little bit taken aback of it at the start or taken aback by it at the start, but that's okay because you're showing the strength, and in the long run, this kind of thing garners respect and it will raise a woman's attraction. you're also leaving some mystery if you do this too, right? Because you guys all had a great time, her and her family and you, and you're like, okay, I'm good, I had a great time, I'm gonna head out. So she will go to the casino with her family, and you will go home, and she's probably going to start thinking about you and wondering about you because you had a great time and now you've kind of removed yourself from that situation. So you're adding a little bit of mystery versus the action you actually took, which was, okay, I got to keep this up and impress her and her family, so I'm going to go, which will eventually have consequences, and you'll see further in the email here. So he says, that blew up in my face when I was dead tired and somewhat displeased with being out at 2:30 in the morning, understandable, after a long night. We had a little argument, and then her sister took her and I home. The next morning, I decided to stay at my house and drop my Christmas plans with her, to which she was not happy with. Yeah, she definitely wouldn't be happy with that because you made that plan and then sort of acted out of emotion, and you weren't being congruent with your words and the commitment that you made. I mean, again, this is all happening very fast. You made another commitment, to see her, I guess, the next day because it was Christmas Eve when you said you were hanging out with her family and they wanted to go to the casino. So a lot's happening really fast. But yeah, she definitely wouldn't be happy with you because you kind of, it seems like you're acting out of emotion, right? Like you're angry, so you just like, I'm not coming on Christmas Day. He says, anyways, she ended up having me over for Christmas since she wanted me over. After that day, it all kind of fizzled out from there. She never verbally told me she wanted a long-term relationship. In fact, she said quite the opposite, which was quite the confusing part. Why would we involve families and not want a long-term relationship? Beats me, he says. Well, again, the big mistake a lot of guys make is that they're thinking about this long-term relationship all the way at the beginning. This scenario really seems more like a whirlwind, like you met a couple times, you met her at Hooters, and kudos to you. You, again, asked her out at Hooters and you shot your shot, which is awesome, shows a level of confidence. But, from there, everything just went really, really fast, and it was a lot of meetings over a very short period of time. Now, a man's entire mindset during these initial stages of dating should just be to hang out and have fun with her. Like, you just want to go out on dates with her and have a good time and make sure she has a good time, right? You don't want to be worrying about a long-term relationship and worrying about getting her as your girlfriend. That's not something you should be worrying about in terms of locking her down. Worrying about that's going to cause you to start acting in ways where you're going to actually start pushing her away. It's going to be counterproductive to what you're trying to do. Kind of like going to the casino because you wanted to impress her. Everything was going great. You want, this girl's hot. I really like her. Her family seems to like me. They're inviting me to the casino. I have to go because I have a relationship in mind and I need to be on her good side. This is just false, right? That doesn't mean you're not allowed to want a relationship long term. That's not what I'm saying. But it comes down to understanding how a woman's feelings operate and how a woman's attraction operates, right? And the main key, and I've said it many times before, and it will be a common theme all the time, is that women's feelings grow slower than men's. So if you're pushing a relationship or you're kind of wondering about that, you're going to act in that way, it's going to start to push her in the opposite direction. So understanding the way women's feelings grow is very crucial in these initial dating stages with someone new, of how to just take your pace, have a good time, and let her come at you at her own pace and let her feelings develop for you. So he says, anyways, I guess I was a bit clingy in the beginning, but it had been a while since I had a serious relationship. I told her a few weeks after that fiasco that I was going to move on, and she didn't respond to that message. I deleted her social media account, and we haven't spoken in about a week and a half. Right, so just leave it at that. Like, I empathize with you about getting caught up in being clingy because you haven't had a relationship in a while, so you're kind of, those feelings are all being re-engaged, but that was the part I struggled with the most when I was young. I would get to that 6 or 7 date mark or maybe a couple month mark, and my mindset, similar to what you were thinking, is now I'm like, okay, well, what's the next step? I got to make her my girlfriend, or I got to get into a relationship. And things would be going well, but I'd kind of constantly be trying to progress things, and I wouldn't be annoying about it. I wouldn't be like, hey, are you gonna be my girlfriend, that kind of thing. But you'd hint at that, and you do start acting in that certain way, and she'll pick up on that, and that's what I would do. So it became a pattern where whoever I was dating around that point, I would start to act that way, and things would start to fizzle out, right? Even though she had super high interest in me at the start and things were going amazing, I'm thinking, hey, relationship. But as I continued to act that way, what ended up happening was they were thinking, and I'm sure all of you guys who are watching this have heard this before, but they get to a stage where they go, oh, I'm a little confused, or I'm just really not sure right now, or I just need a little bit of space. This is exactly why. So now that I understand the way women's feelings operate, and I really encourage you guys to understand this as well, I can go back and look at all those different women that I dated in my life. I can pinpoint exactly what my actions were, and I can see the downfall right after. And it's understandable. It's like clockwork. Happens all the time. So I speak from experience. I understand it's challenging to do at first because, we're basically brainwashed by Netflix rom-coms to say, this is what we got to do, get to that next step. So it will feel challenging. Like, it may have felt challenging to walk away and go home versus go to the casino because you want to continue to impress her. It feels counterintuitive, but the actual results of those actions will give you a lot of encouragement. And the more you do these things, the more you see the results, the easier it becomes. Because you're going to be showing strength and sort of that stoic matter, and you're going to start gaining that respect. Now, look, you don't have to impress women to win them over. You simply don't. Think of it this way. Has acting like a Netflix show tells men to act ever worked out for you in the end? My guess is the answer is no, because it never worked for me. So that was the breakthrough that I had after all these failures. I call them failures, but really it's just experiences to learn from. Once I finally figured that out, everything started to go up. That was a breakthrough I needed to sort of say, hey, what am I doing wrong here? So he says, I miss her a lot, and sometimes I wonder if she's the one I need to be with. However, I also see some of the red flags. That's a lot. So, well, you met her at Hooters, so I can think of at least 2 reasons why you miss her. But joking aside, I think it's pretty early to say if she is the one. I mean, I think you're just really missing her because she was hot and you had a good time. But you have to see reality as it is, right? You have to think that, okay, maybe she comes back into your life, and at that point you kind of just be casual. Like, you want to hang out with her and go on dates and stuff, but keep the relationship part out of your head. But I will say, you are already saying that you see some of the red flags, right? So you're contemplating waving those red flags just because she's hot. Like, this is where guys get into trouble. This is where I've gotten into trouble. It's up to you. You can do whatever you want, but ignoring them is not going to make them go away, right? And in the long run, you may be suffering more than you really need to. But you definitely need to learn from this experience. And a lot of guys, you have to see too much too quick is going to be your downfall. It all feels great, and at the start, it goes really well, but eventually it's going to start to downfall. And this is kind of what we saw here. If he would have just gone home, I guarantee you the outcome would have been different. Now, again, it was still going really fast, so down the line, we're not sure. But that evening would have been totally different if he would have just gone home and showed his strength and said, hey, I had a great time with you, but I'm tired. I'm going to head home. You guys have a great time at the casino, and I'll see you later. And she'd probably be thinking about you all night. So you don't have to impress women, but you need to be confident. And confident is the most attractive thing. So for you, the confidence would have been walking away from that evening because you were tired. You spent all day with them, and you spent a good part of the evening with them. So it's not like you're abandoning her, right? So just enjoy dating, continue to date other women, but you got to understand these concepts of how women's feelings grow, and that confidence is a big factor, and that you shouldn't be doing things just to impress a woman. You need to do what you want to do, right? In this scenario, it would have been going home, and things may have been a little bit different, but again, you're sort of rushing and thinking if it's the one you have to be with. I would not think in that way at all. Like I said, if she comes back to you and texts you, you can start hanging out with her and go on dates again, but take it, understand the concept of her feelings and letting them grow, but don't get yourself all torn up in this, and just have confidence and start dating other women as well. And when you understand these concepts, you will see a difference in the way women respond down the line. So take these concepts and start, go on dates with a few other women and see how it works, see how they respond to these different concepts you're going to use, utilizing, not getting into it too fast, letting their feelings grow. Like, see how they respond, watch the difference. Because I know that in my life, when I started to apply these concepts, the difference was night and day in these relationships. So if you have a dating or relationship problem and you want my help, send an email to questions@elevatemyrelationships.com, and I may make a coaching video out of your scenario for yourself and other guys to learn from. And also check out the coaching options in the description of this video below, and please hit subscribe to the channel for more advice on real life scenarios just like this to make your dating and relationship life a lot more successful. I will see you guys next time.